The group chat lit up while I was paying for my son's prescription. Don't come to the wedding? No emoji. No explanation. I glanced at the screen again, thinking maybe it was a joke. But then the venue app pinged. Contract under my name. Bright red banner. Final notice. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like gravity had changed. 6 months earlier, I'd signed that very contract. My mom had smiled, saying, "Only you know how to deal with the venue." Back then, I thought that meant trust. Turns out, it meant exposure. The pharmacy smelled like disinfectant and cheap coffee. My hands shook as I typed my PIN. In the corner, my son pushed a toy ambulance across the floor, making the siren sound with his mouth. It should have been a normal Tuesday. School pickup, quick errand, back home before dinner. Instead, my entire wedding seemed to be dissolving in the checkout line. You ever had a text rewrite your whole future? Because that's exactly what it felt like. I stepped outside into the cold air, phone still buzzing. Final notice. Payment failed. Account past due. Each alert hit like a heartbeat out of sync. I opened the app. Venue balance, $4,200 added since last month. Additional decor? I never approved that. I called the manager. No answer. Called again. Straight to voicemail. Then I remembered Mom's voice that day we signed. Only you know how to deal with them. Was this her idea of helping? I scrolled the messages. My bridesmaid group had gone quiet. One by one, names grayed out, left the chat. My throat tightened. The silence after betrayal is always louder than the words before it. My name is Lena Brooks. I'm 28, from Columbus. I'm a mom. I said it out loud, like grounding myself in a storm. Because sometimes, saying who you are is the only thing left when people try to rewrite your story. Inside the car, I buckled my son into his seat. He looked up, asked, "Mommy, why are you sad?" I smiled without meaning it. Just grown-up stuff, buddy. Then, push, notification. Final attempt failed. I stared at those 3 words. Not just about the payment. They felt bigger. Like a verdict on every chance I'd given my family to do right by me. If you were me, what would you do? Call your mom and demand answers, or pretend it was a glitch and hope it fixed itself? Because I'd done both before, and neither ever worked. The phone vibrated again, this time showing a contact name I knew too well. Mom. I didn't pick up. Not yet. I opened the venue email one more time, reading every line, every charge, every added flower arrangement I hadn't approved. Silver drapes. Sunroom upgrade. It all pointed to someone who thought my signature was theirs to use, and maybe they were right, because I'd handed them the power to do it. I took a deep breath, started the engine, and whispered, "Not this time." The pharmacy lights flickered behind me as I drove off. My reflection in the rear-view mirror looked calm, but my mind was already racing. If they thought I'd just pay quietly, they didn't know who I'd become. Somewhere between the flashing notifications and that unanswered call, a decision formed. Tomorrow, I'd find out exactly who authorized those charges and why the manager said my mom had already called 3 times. The next morning, I called the venue. "Hi, this is Lena Brooks. There's been a mistake with my account." The manager cut in before I could finish. "Oh, hi again. Your mom already called 3 times." I froze. "My mom?" "Yes. She said you wanted to add new decor packages and an upgraded backdrop. We processed everything under your signature yesterday." "Excuse me?" He hesitated, then added quietly, "She also said you'd react like this. You ever feel your pulse move to your fingertips? Because mine did." I pulled up the email thread. There it was, $4,200 in extra charges, silver drapes, floral wall, Vintage candle display. All approved from my address. Cancel everything, I said, steady but shaking. Immediately. He paused again. You understand canceling means forfeiting your deposit? Yes, I'd rather lose money than my sanity. Click, end call. I sat there, phone still warm in my hand, watching my reflection in the screen. She looked like someone I didn't recognize. A woman learning, again, that blood doesn't always mean trust. You'd think family betrayal would get easier after the first few times. It doesn't. It just cuts cleaner. Within an hour, I emailed the venue's legal department, citing unauthorized third-party modifications. I CC'd my lawyer friend from college. The reply came fast. Contract voided under fraud clause. You are cleared of liability. Relief, but it felt hollow. I hadn't just lost a wedding date. I'd lost the illusion that my mom could still surprise me in a good way. Instead of crying, I did something else. I scrolled through local listings until I found another event scheduled for the same weekend. A vow renewal for a couple named Miles and Aria Franklin. Their post read, "We had to cancel our DJ last minute. Anyone know someone reliable?" I reached out. Within 20 minutes, I'd transferred my old vendor credit to them. They texted back a heart emoji and wrote, "Thank you for being so kind. Most people wouldn't." I stared at that message longer than I should have. Maybe that was the real ceremony I needed, to prove kindness could still exist outside my family's chaos. But the peace didn't last. That night, I got another alert. Someone had logged into my email from a trusted device. The header line read, "Sunroom 5G. It was our home Wi-Fi." I looked toward the dark window, the faint porch light flickering. My mom's house sat 3 doors down. Same neighborhood, same signal range. She still had a spare key from when I moved in last year. I'd told myself I'd change the locks after the wedding. Guess that timeline just moved up. You ever get that cold wave when you realize someone's not just messing with your plans, but invading your life? I unplugged the router, like that would somehow unplug the betrayal too. Outside, my son's nightlight cast a soft glow against his bedroom wall. I promised myself, right then, he'd never grow up thinking manipulation was love. Before bed, I scrolled social media. There it was, Mom's new post, a single line, vague enough to sting. Some people love drama more than family. A dozen of her friends had already liked it, split screen in my mind. Me holding my phone in the dark, and her sitting in her living room, Wi-Fi named Sunroom 5G glowing at the corner of her screen. I closed the app and whispered, "Fine, let's make this official." Tomorrow I'd confront her, not as her daughter, but as the name on that voided contract. Rick came home late, the kind of late that already feels like an answer. His shoes stopped at the door, quiet. He looked at me, then past me, at the half-packed boxes, the unplugged router, the silence sitting between us. "You talked to her," I said. Not a question. He didn't deny it, just set down his keys and rubbed the back of his neck. "She said you changed the locks," he murmured. "I did." He nodded, like that proved something. "They said you were lying about the contract, that you added things and blamed her when the bill came." "They," I repeated. "Not her?" He shrugged. "I didn't know who to believe." That sentence hit harder than any insult could. You ever realize someone you love is holding their loyalty like a coin, waiting to see which side lands up? I wanted to yell, to throw receipts at him, to make him scroll through the emails and timestamps. Instead, I just said, "You could have asked me." He looked down, coffee cooling between us. No sip, no word, just the faint hum of the fridge and a silence that stretched too long. I broke first. "Forget it." He left the mug half full and went upstairs. His footsteps creaked once, twice, then stopped completely. That was the sound of something ending without ceremony. The next morning, an anonymous account posted a photo of my porch. Caption: "When karma delivers faster than Amazon." The curtains, the welcome mat, even the toy ambulance by the steps, everything in frame. I froze mid-scroll. The account name meant nothing, but the tone? Familiar. My mom's favorite kind of mockery, public but deniable. "If you were me, would you respond or ignore it?" I asked the empty room, because ignoring it had never worked before. I screenshotted everything and sent it to my lawyer friend. 10 minutes later, he replied, "Start documenting. You'll need it later." Later for what? I didn't know yet. That night, my son spilled juice on the rug. Normally, I'd laugh it off, but something in me snapped. "Can't you just sit still for 1 minute?" His eyes widened. Big, scared. The sound of my own voice shocked me more than it hurt him. I sank to my knees. Hey, I'm sorry. That wasn't about you." He nodded, the way kids do when they forgive faster than adults deserve. I cleaned the mess, then sat in the dark, trying to breathe. The ceiling fan clicked with every rotation, marking seconds I couldn't slow down. I picked up my phone again. The anonymous account had already deleted the photo. Too late. I'd saved it. In the reflection of the black screen, I saw myself. Tired, angry, smaller than I remembered. I whispered, "You're not crazy. You're cornered." The front door camera light blinked red, meaning it was recording. A tiny mercy, proof I existed outside their stories. I opened my email to draft a cease and desist, fingers trembling. The cursor blinked like it was daring me to finish. Then another tab slid into View. One from my lawyer friend. Subject line: Subpoena draft. No message, just an attachment. I didn't open it yet, just stared at the words until the screen dimmed, because when legal paperwork starts showing up where family used to be, you already know what kind of war it's turning into. And the scariest part? I wasn't sure I wanted to win anymore, just to get out alive. By Friday, every vendor had backed out. The florist, the DJ, even the bakery that once called me sweetheart in emails. Each one apologized with the same tone, polite, rehearsed, distant. The venue had quietly reassigned my date to a conference hall on the outskirts of town. A replacement package, they called it. 4 walls, fluorescent lights, and no refunds. You ever feel your name start to mean problem in people's inboxes? I sat in the car outside the pharmacy, the same spot where it all began, scrolling through the wreckage of polite betrayals when a new message appeared. Subject: FYI, you should see this. It was from Sarah, a barista I used to work with. She'd gotten a side job at the venue cafe. Attached was a forwarded email. 2 months before everything blew up, my mom had written to the event coordinator, "How do I make Lena look bad enough that the venue bans her?" The timestamp sat there like proof that none of this was impulsive. It was strategy. I pulled over to the curb, hands shaking on the steering wheel. The world blurred, a mix of traffic noise and disbelief. How do you breathe when your own mother plans your humiliation like a calendar reminder? Flashback, 16 years old, standing in our kitchen. She was crying, mascara smudged, holding a wine glass. "You're the reason your father left," she'd said. I'd believed her for a decade. Now the sentence echoed again. Same tone, same cruelty, just wearing a new disguise. The phone buzzed, bank notification. I swiped, half numb. Then I saw it, a charge labeled bachelorette trip, Nashville, $1,800. Traveler list included my mom, my sister, and 2 of her friends. I scrolled further down, needing to be wrong. That's when I saw another pattern. $200 transfers monthly to Rick's account. I blinked hard, reread, tried to rationalize. Maybe a joint expense? A shared bill? But the memo line said, "Thanks again." When he came home, I didn't yell this time, just waited. He walked in with the cautious face of someone already guilty. "Rick?" I said, voice calm. "How long?" He stared at the counter. The coffee maker hissed behind him. "Ah, since we got engaged." Silence. No defense, no apology. Just the sound of air leaving something we once believed in. You ever get hit with betrayal so clean it almost feels like relief? Like, finally, the mask's off. I nodded once, slow. "Okay." That was all I said before walking into the other room. In the mirror, I barely looked like myself anymore. My reflection had his expression. Tired, blank, resigned. I sat on the floor and laughed once, sharp and humorless. "They really teamed up," I whispered. "Mom must be so proud." The next alert popped up, a missed call from her, then a text. "Let's talk before this gets worse." As if it hadn't already burned to ash. I deleted the message without reading the rest. Outside, the streetlights flickered on, washing the world in pale yellow. I thought about Sarah's email, the Nashville trip, the transfers, all of it blending into one truth. I was never losing control. They were taking it piece by piece. I leaned back against the door, eyes closed, and whispered, "Enough." Because sometimes the only way to stop a family war is to stop pretending you're still part of it. The wedding looked nothing like a wedding. 12 guests instead of 80. Half the chairs empty. The string lights sagged like they'd given up halfway through the night. Rick stood near the altar, expression unreadable. My mother cried loudly enough for the empty seats to notice. She kept saying, "Why would she ruin this for everyone?" Like I hadn't already been erased from the guest list. Then my ex-maid of honor stepped forward, phone in hand. "Should I just read it?" she asked. Nobody stopped her. Her voice shook, but not from nerves. He wrote, "I can't marry into a family that scams their own." It took me a second to realize she meant Rick's brother, the best man, had leaked the groom's email. My chest went hollow. You ever stand in a room full of people and feel invisible in real time? The DJ stopped the music. Someone filmed. Always someone filming. By morning, the clip was online. My mom crying. Guests whispering. Captions spinning it into whatever story got clicks. They called me the problem again. And this time, the internet agreed. Before the next scene, a line flashes across the screen. False CPS reports are a federal crime and taken extremely seriously by authorities. 3 days later, while folding laundry, my son looked up and asked, "Mommy, why did that lady ask if you ever hurt me?" I froze mid-fold. "What lady, honey?" "The one on the phone. She said she was from Child Protective Services." My stomach turned. I checked my call log. There it was, Susan M., a name I recognized from Mom's Facebook comments. That's when the shaking started. Not fear exactly, just rage so cold it felt surgical. I dialed the number back. No answer. Then I called the real CPS office, explained everything, and asked to file a report for false impersonation. The woman on the line sighed like she'd heard this too many times. "You did the right thing," she said. The next day, I filed a police report. Title card. Lena filed a police report the next day. That night, I sat in my car outside the station, engine off, rain ticking against the windshield. My reflection looked like a stranger. Red eyes, clenched jaw, lipstick worn off somewhere between fury and exhaustion. Voiceover in my head. I wasn't fighting them anymore. I was fighting the version of myself that still wanted their love. You ever realize your heart's addicted to pain it calls home? I opened my phone and started building a folder labeled boundaries.zip. Inside, screenshots with timestamps, audio clips of my mom mocking me to relatives, bank statements marked with yellow highlights. Each file a brick in the wall I wished I'd built years ago. The rain grew heavier, blurring the world into streaks of gray. I pressed record on the voice memo app and whispered, "For the record, I'm done." Evidence wasn't just about court anymore. It was survival documentation. Proof that I wasn't crazy. Proof that love without respect is just control in disguise. My son's car seat sat empty behind me, tiny crumbs on the fabric from breakfast. I stared at it, thinking, he deserves better stories than this. Then I wiped my face, started the car, and drove home, not to rest, but to get organized. Because the next time they tried to rewrite my life, I'd already have the receipts ready. The unauthorized charges dispute took 45 days. 45 days of waiting, refreshing inboxes, and pretending everything was normal. Each morning started the same. Coffee, laptop, another automated email saying, "Case still under review." You ever count time not in hours, but in apologies you stop rehearsing? A slow montage played out across those 6 weeks, calendar pages falling one by one. Lena's hair growing longer, the roots showing how much time had passed. Her son standing by the whiteboard, carefully writing the numbers 1 through 45. Every day he'd ask, "What happens when we reach 45?" And every day she'd answer, "Then it's over." Behind that calm voice was exhaustion, the kind that eats memory first. She sold furniture online, old couch, bookshelf, even her wedding dress still in plastic. Each sale bought another week of groceries and silence. Sometimes she'd scroll through photos of Miles and Aria, the couple whose vow renewal she'd saved. They'd stayed in touch. One evening, her phone buzzed. Venmo, $500 received. Note, for being there when your family wasn't. It wasn't the money that made her cry. It was the reminder that kindness still existed somewhere. While waiting, she printed every bank statement, highlighting each fraudulent charge like a roadmap of betrayal. Silver drapes, sunroom upgrade, Nashville trip, all of it under her name, all of it feeding the same lie. Every time she thought about calling Rick, she stopped herself. But on day 39, his name appeared anyway. Text message. Rick. I'm staying at Jake's. Need to think. Left you the car. No. I'm sorry. No. We'll fix this. Just logistics. She walked into the kitchen. The keys were there on the counter, right where he said they'd be. But his favorite coffee mug, the one that used to sit beside hers every morning, was gone. It was such a small thing, but it said everything. That night, she sat by the window, laptop open, checking the dispute portal again. Nothing yet. The streetlight outside flickered. The room smelled like rain and burnt toast. Voiceover. 45 days isn't long, but when you're proving you're not crazy, it feels like a lifetime. Day 45 finally came quietly. No fanfare, no call, just an email. Subject. Bank dispute resolved. Body. Claim approved, refund issued in full. Lena read it twice before believing it, then a third time just to feel it. $8,400 restored. Not justice, but proof she could fight back and win. She closed her laptop, exhaled, and looked around the half-empty house. Every object still there felt like something earned back through fire. Her son ran in, holding up the whiteboard. All the way to 45, Mommy. What now? She smiled, tracing the numbers with her finger. Now, she said softly, we start over. You ever realize survival doesn't look heroic? It just looks like showing up every day until The world finally stops lying about you. The email stayed open on the screen, glowing like a small victory light. Outside, the rain had stopped. Lena leaned back, closed her eyes, and whispered, "One chapter down." But deep inside, she knew something else was coming. The kind of reckoning that doesn't involve banks or refunds, because the next battle wasn't about money anymore. It was about freedom. The refund hit her account on a Monday morning. $8,400. Clean, silent, final. Lena stared at the number on her screen like it was something fragile. Proof that truth could survive long enough to be recognized. But justice doesn't come with balloons or applause. It just sits there, waiting for you to decide what kind of person you'll be next. Cut to a quiet living room. Rick's voice played faintly, part of a therapy session she hadn't meant to overhear, but somehow did. "I enabled financial abuse," he said. Simple words, heavy truth. You ever hear someone admit what you always knew and it still hurts anyway? Later, an email arrived from him. Subject, statement for record. He wrote, "I will not participate in any event Lena is excluded from. That includes weddings, holidays, or any family gathering where manipulation is tolerated." No dramatic apology, no begging, just accountability. Late, but real. Lena exhaled slowly. She didn't reply. Sometimes silence is the only way to keep peace intact. There was no wedding do-over, no makeup ceremony, no second vows. Rick closed out the last remaining joint dispute, transferring his portion to her name. In his memo line, he wrote, "Severance from that family." It felt like closing a file that had been open too long. Days later, a bank letter arrived confirming a beneficiary change, not for her, but from Rick's sister. The note read, "You protected my niece and nephew when I was a coward." Lena folded the paper neatly, placed it in the same folder as the refund confirmation. For the first time in months, the house sounded like home again. Just dishes, laughter, and the hum of something ordinary. She could have mailed Rick a check for his share of the refund. Instead, she logged into her account and donated $2,000 to a domestic violence shelter. Memo line. For the ones still learning, it's not their fault. The rest went into savings, safety money, quiet money. That night, she sat by the window with her laptop, watching her cursor hover over the block button one last time. Her mother, her sister, aunts, cousins, one click at a time, they disappeared from her digital life. Montage, the cursor pressing block, old family photos fading out. A message bubble stuck forever on scene, her son's laughter echoing over the hum of the fridge. You ever notice peace doesn't make noise? It's just the absence of chaos. She scrolled through her old messages, each one proof that love without respect was just permission to keep hurting you. Then she deleted them all. The screen went dark, reflecting her face for the first time without distortion. Lena whispered, "This is what winning quietly looks like." Outside, a car door shut. Rick was back to drop off their son. He handed over the backpack, said softly, "You're doing good." She nodded. No tension, no scripts left to perform. He turned to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth," he said, "thank you for holding the line even when I didn't." She smiled, small but honest. Someone had to. As he walked away, the porch light caught on the rain-damp air, making it shimmer. Inside, her phone buzzed again. An auto email from the bank. All disputes fully settled. She looked at it once, then turned the screen face down. Because for the first time in years, she didn't need proof anymore. The email came on a Thursday morning. Subject line, "Need help for your sister." It was from Mom. No apology, no "how are you?" Just a few paragraphs that read like a business memo written in guilt. She said my sister had fallen behind on rent again. She said I had a good heart and that maybe I could cover 1 month just to keep the peace. You ever notice how peace is always what manipulative people want right after they've caused the war? I stared at the message for a long time. My cursor blinked in the reply box like it was timing my heartbeat. Part of me wanted to delete it. Another part, the old part, wanted to say yes, to prove I wasn't bitter, that I was still the good daughter. But being good had cost me everything once. So I started typing slowly. Hi, Mom. I can't send money, but here are some local job aid programs and food bank links that might help. I hope she applies soon. My fingers hesitated over the send button. It wasn't anger holding me back. It was grief. Grief for the version of me that still thought boundaries were cruelty. Then I pressed send. For a moment, the world was still. Then a small wave of calm washed through me, like air finally reaching a place that had been locked too long. I closed the laptop, turned toward the window. The light hit just right, warm, forgiving. That afternoon, my son's laughter filled the kitchen. He was turning 6 the next day. Rick texted that he'd bring pizza and his new girlfriend would bake a cake. For a second, I wasn't sure how I'd feel about that, but when they showed up, it didn't feel awkward. It just felt normal. They sang, they laughed, they handed me a paper plate like nothing catastrophic had ever happened between us. And maybe that was the point. Peace didn't erase the past. It just stopped letting it run the present. When my son blew out his candles, he looked up and said, "Mommy, can I make 2 wishes?" I smiled. "You can make as many as you want." He closed his eyes, whispered something I couldn't hear, then grinned like he'd just saved the world. I didn't ask what he wished for. Some things are better left sacred. Later that night, after everyone left, I washed the dishes in quiet rhythm. The sink water was warm, the kind that makes your mind wander. I thought about the last year, the wedding, the lies, the call, the police report. Every piece of it had felt like proof that love could turn cruel when control wore its mask. Now, standing there with my hands in the water, I realized something simple. I'd survived all of it without becoming them. The sound of a notification broke the silence. Miles and Aria had posted photos from their vow renewal. They tagged me in the caption. "Thank you for teaching us what family really means." I smiled. Their faces glowed under string lights, holding hands, surrounded by people who looked like they wanted to be there. It reminded me that sometimes the family you build isn't made of blood, it's made of choices. I sat on the couch, scrolling through old photos I hadn't deleted yet. My mother holding me as a baby. My sister at graduation. Rick in better days. It didn't sting anymore. It just looked like another life. One I'd finally stepped out of. I picked up a notebook and wrote a single line. "Protecting your peace isn't cruelty." Then, below it, "It's the kindness you couldn't give yourself before." Because that was the truth no one had taught me. Self-respect doesn't sound like a battle cry. It sounds like a quiet no, whispered after years of saying yes to the wrong people. I looked around my living room. The boxes were gone. The walls were bare but peaceful. No tension in the corners, no ghosts waiting in the silence. My son's toy ambulance sat by the window again, lights flickering softly in the dark. He'd fallen asleep holding it, like he always did. I covered him with a blanket and whispered, "You're safe now." Maybe I was saying it to both of us. Later, as the house settled, I opened my email again. There was one unread message. Mom's reply. "Thanks, I guess. I just thought you'd care more." I read it once. Then again. For the first time, it didn't make me angry. It made me grateful. grateful that I no longer measured my worth by how much guilt I could carry. I didn't reply. I just archived it. The cursor blinked on a clean inbox. Peace in digital form. I closed my laptop and leaned back. Outside, the streetlight flickered, same one that used to guide me home after late shifts. Now, it felt like it was lighting the way forward. My phone buzzed again. A message from Miles and Aria. "We're expecting. You'll be the first to meet the baby." I smiled, typing back. "You two are the proof good things still grow after chaos." Then I set the phone down, turned off the light, and let the room fill with quiet. Because peace doesn't arrive with applause. It arrives when you finally stop explaining why you deserve it. And if you're listening to this, maybe it's time to do the same. Ask yourself, what boundary will you set today? Because protecting your peace isn't cruelty. It's the first kind act you owe yourself.